with another. This your girl, Topnotch Fowler, and I'm here today with another show. And I have the pleasure of interviewing Sharron Rouse. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm good, Top Notch. How are you?
I can't complain. I'm glad to be interviewing you tonight. Who can you tell us a little about yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I was born and raised here in the PG County area. I'm a wife, I'm a mother. I am self employed. I feel like work a million jobs right now, but I'm in transition. So, that's okay. I am a nurturer by definition, I would say. Also a connector. I consider myself a person that connects people. I feel that I operate in different spaces and can flow in different spaces, and so I'm usually that connector between various circles of people. I'm the founder of Kindness for Kidneys International, which I started in 2018 as an answer to some of the issues that we're having in our community surrounding kidney disease.
Okay. So I guess to the second question is who inspires you personally?
Hmm. That's a loaded question. I feel like in different parts of your life, you're inspired by different things and different people. Like, I think back to my childhood, and my mom inspired me. She inspired me to be a teacher. So I admired her as a teacher. So I went on and I went to college and became a teacher. Then, fast forward, and I started teaching in the classroom. I went through the school system. I was a teacher, a school counselor, a Title I coordinator. I've been in the school system for about 20 years. And then in 2021, I transitioned to doing something completely outside of my comfort zone, which was being a business owner. And so my dad's a business owner.
Okay.
And so now we can have conversations around business and just the ups and the downs. And I'm just kind of getting started in it. And so I feel like he inspires me. But most of all, I'm inspired by God and the life that Jesus lived on earth and the example that we're supposed to be on the earth. And I think I think back even to before I was saved or anything like that. I've always wanted to serve. I always enjoy serving people, enjoy just helping, just seeing people smile and things like that. And so I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired when I see someone smiling, when I see someone living, going towards their purpose and why they're here, and not wasting their life. Sometimes I know with life circumstances, we can feel like we don't matter. But just seeing someone moving past those things and overcoming challenges and being there to support them any way that I can, I really, that inspires me most.
Okay. You're a woman that wears many hats.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood. So what does kindness for kidneys help individuals like suffering from different diseases? And can you explain to us and get into more depths
Right.
how that works?
Absolutely. So, Kindness for Kidneys was born out of my experiences with dialysis, with transplant, and now, even the living donor situation with my sister. And so, in 2006, I woke up to go to work, and I noticed that my legs were swollen. And so I'm like, okay, what's this all about? And long story short, I went to the emergency room. I was diagnosed with kidney failure. I was only 31 years old. I had a 5-month-old daughter, and I just couldn't believe what was happening. It really kind of came out of nowhere. And for a while, they thought I had lupus. And then here comes this diagnosis. And so they diagnosed me with a rare kidney condition. It's called focal segmental glomerular sclerosis. I know, big
Big
word. Big word,
terminology.
yes.
Okay.
But FSGS for short. And basically, FSGS is where a part of your kidney cells in various places becomes scarred, and it makes it hard for your kidneys to filter waste and do its job, which filtering waste, regulating hormones, and things like that. And so, as a result, that was where the edema or the swelling came from because my kidneys were in failure. And so I went through so many like emotional um, ups and downs. I'm like, God, why is this happening? I'm 31 years old. I'm married. I have a beautiful daughter. We're starting our family. We're in the prime of our lives. And here I am in the emergency room being told my kidneys are failing. And I didn't have anyone in my family that I could look back and say, oh, yeah, my grandmother was on it or anything like that. I didn't know anyone in my immediate family that had faced kidney issues. And so really just took my family by surprise. And, it was like, why is this happening? And so from the diagnosis, and I like to just tell people all the time, when you face a traumatic diagnosis like that, you're going to grieve. And for a while I was in denial. I was like, I'm not going on dialysis. My doctor's like, let's get you on dialysis. And this was after some time. So after the emergency room situation, I ended up, they were able to give me medication to kind of calm my kidneys down, to hold them at bay. But then a couple of years later, they got worse, and that's when they started the conversation about dialysis. And Miss Rouse, you're gonna have to go on dialysis. And I was in denial, and probably would be labeled an uncompliant patient. And so long story short, because it's a whole process, and we'll probably talk about it at some point in the interview. But long story short, when I walked into the dialysis center for treatment that first day, my whole perspective of life and my purpose changed. We walked into the facility, and one, you hear about dialysis, but I don't think I really knew what dialysis was. I don't think I would see dialysis centers, but I don't think I really understood what happened there and what the purpose of dialysis was. But walking in for myself and getting treatment and going through all of the different phases that you go through when you're getting connected to a machine, which in essence is life support for the person because their kidneys aren't functioning. um, it changed my life forever. And I vowed when I started that I'm going to be the change I want to see. I was embarrassed that I didn't know more about it, but we see them on every corner in our communities. And then also to walk in and see people sitting around the perimeter of a room in a chair, having their blood going in and out of their bodies, it just, I had no words to explain how I felt. Like I didn't really know. Like do people know what's going on in here? And why are we having conversations in our community about this? Like this is not okay. And so that's where Kindness for Kidneys was born. Long story short, I ended up, my sister qualified as a kidney donor for me, and so she's my hero.
Yes,
Shout out to
yes,
Shantae, who's my
yes.
hero. She qualified as a kidney donor. And even in that, and I'll just kind of stop it here to say that even in that process, we encountered so many things in our healthcare system just for her to donate a kidney to me. And so that was a whole nother process that I was like, yeah, we gotta raise awareness in our communities because many people don't have the support that they need to walk through this, you know.
Okay, so how was your experience? What would you say? How was the experience as far as the doctors? How was that experience?
So we encountered a lot of different doctors. There were some that welcomed the educated people that wanted to ask questions and work hand in hand with them. And then there were others that were almost offended when I said, well, no, I want to get a second opinion, or when I had questions. And so we learned very early on that we had to be our best advocate. We had to be in the driver's seat. We had to ask questions. We had to seek second opinions if we needed to. We had to ensure that we researched. So if I was being prescribed a medication, it wasn't for me to just take it. And I learned that in the hospital because I was in the hospital the very first time I was diagnosed. And I had never really had a hospital stay prior to that, other than having my daughter. So it was all new to me. Like I'm thinking, okay, I'm here. They're going to help me. My kidneys get better and I'm going to go home. But one night, a nurse came in and she was putting a needle. She was getting ready to put a needle in my stomach because they were giving me medication in my stomach. I never asked what they were giving me.
Right.
And so she looked and she said, why are they giving you heparin? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, no, you don't need heparin. You
Okay.
don't need heparin. The next person that comes in here, you don't need heparin. You're young, you're walking around. We give this to patients who are having circulatory issues and are kind of bedridden. And so that night woke me up to the importance of wait, I can't just sit in this hospital and have them come in here doing whatever they are doing to me without me being a part of it. And I think many times we think that that's what we're supposed to do. You go to a hospital, they should know what they're doing. We're going to lay in this
Right.
bed and
Right.
get whatever medication and just do that. But that night I realized like, no, wait, I need to ask questions. I should have at least known what they were giving me. I never asked. I just just did whatever they told me to do. And so that night woke me up to the importance of advocacy, and the fact that, it's not up to us to just sit and allow doctors to do whatever. Yes, I respect their expertise. They went to school, they can help me, but we're partners. It's not, I'm just laying in this bed and they come in and dictate what I'm supposed to do, because we're all different. And a lot of times our healthcare system, unfortunately, can be a one size fits all.
I agree.
Yes.
I
And
really
so I
agree.
learned that night, like, no, even though that might be the standard of care to give everyone heparin that comes in here, that wasn't necessarily my journey. And so I needed to be a part of the process. Like, why are you giving me this? What's it for? What should I expect? What side effects should I be looking out for? How will this interact with the other medication you're giving me? And so it's so important. Sorry.
It's fine.
It's so important to ask questions, and sometimes we can be lackadaisical with our health. And I'm like, this is our life. Like, it's not. And so that just woke me up to the importance of, one, empowering other people to know, you get in the driver's seat of your health. This is your life, that you only get one chance at this. And then also just being aware and knowledgeable, because I don't think that I was knowledgeable before all of this happened to me.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you think it's enough support for individuals that have this disease? Do you think it's enough support and advocate for people that have this disease in our Black community? Let's call it what it
No,
is.
no, which is why we started Kindness for Kidneys, because I was looking around for different resources, and there are resources out there, but they're not always readily available in our community. So I was able to connect with larger organizations, but here in Prince George's County alone, there weren't any kidney related organizations. They had organizations for diabetes, or, but not necessarily for kidney disease, dialysis, transplantation. And so I had to rely on the larger organizations to get information. And sometimes that personal touch is not there. But that's what we seek to do with Kindness for Kidneys, is really um, be there and lock arms with patients and walk them through. Kidney warriors is what I like to call us. Really walk them through the process, answer questions, dispel myths about living donation. Many people, when my sister and I were getting worked up, they didn't know that a living donor goes through laparoscopic surgery. They're like, oh, she's going to have this major surgery. And what's laparoscopic for the living donor? And so being able to share that type of information with everyone and let them know different ways of going about this. There are different types of dialysis, and some people don't know that. They think you just go in center. And so being able to really educate people and let them know their choices and their responsibility in their kidney journey is important. And that's what we do at Kindness for Kidneys.
Okay. What is something that our audience that are watching, what are some signs that we can be aware of?
Yeah. So if you have extreme fatigue, that's a sign. And sometimes we think, like, for me, I thought I had a 5 month old. So I thought this was what I was supposed to be tired, right? And I just gone back to work. And so, but if it's extreme fatigue where you have a hard time functioning, that's a sign. That's a sign that, okay, I need to look a little bit further into this. It could be as simple as anemia, you know, but it's important to not just look at that as, oh, I'm just tired. I'm a new mom. Really check it out. If you have swelling in your hands or your legs, that's a sign that something is not filtering correctly or something is not functioning correctly. If you're noticing a lot of swelling going on, especially in your legs, that was my first sign. And many times when it gets to that point, it's at the end. You're in the final stages of the disease. Kidney disease is a silent disease in the beginning. You could have their research says that 9 out of 10 people that have kidney disease don't know they have it, because it really doesn't show up until the final stages. And so that's why testing is important. Another thing, nausea. If you're nauseous and just like, I don't know, I don't really want to eat, my appetite is off, something's not right, that could be a sign. Sometimes your skin, because and one thing I didn't know is how much the kidneys, that's this little organ, it's about the shape of my fist, does all of this. Most people think, oh, it just helps you make urine, but it does a whole lot more. And so if you're itching, if your skin is itching a lot, that could be a sign that your kidneys may not be functioning properly. And so you want to ask your doctor. I always tell people ask yearly for a kidney function test, because not all of the primary care providers will give that in the annual physical that you get at your doctor's. And so it's important to ask for a kidney function test where they're looking at your filtration rate, your creatinine, looking at how well things are going with your protein. If there's protein in your urine, that's another sign that something's not right. And so for me, they thought the protein was due to lupus. But then when I got the biopsy for the kidney failure, they're like, oh no, this is FSGS. And so I remember spilling protein for years. And I would go to the doctor and they're like, yeah, you had a little bit of protein on your labs, but sometimes that's normal. And that was I can even think back to college being told that I was spilling protein. And so in hindsight and talking to the doctors, they're like, yeah, you probably had this kidney disease back then. But again, because it's silent, and I didn't know to go further than asking about this protein that's spilling. So protein spillage in your urine is another sign. So if someone is telling, I've heard people say, "Well, my doctor said I was spilling protein." I said, "Well, have them check your kidneys, because it could be a sign that your kidneys aren't filtering correctly."
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. Okay. So, with Kindness for Kidneys, what are you doing right now in this organization?
Mhm. So we hold support groups once a month. We have them on the second Sunday of each month. We started the support group with the intention to have something here in the Southern Maryland area to be able to support families, because I found that most of the support was in DC. And so, like, I found a support group, I think it was at Washington Hospital Center, but it was on a Thursday evening at 6.
Mm.
So the likelihood of me traveling downtown for a support group at 6 p.m. on a Thursday evening was very slim, and then trying to find parking and do all of that. And so I said, we need something on the southern end. Like, what's out here for people in Accokeek or Fort Washington? So I connected with a patient director. They kind of oversee quality assurance among facilities in our area. And she sent out a survey. I said, let's just see where they would be willing to travel to come to a support group. And so we decided to have it at Oxon Hill Library. We kicked off March 8th, 2020.
Mm.
And you know what happened the next week?
Yeah. Yeah.
We shut down. And so it was
Yes.
kind of like, dang. And it was such a good turnout. We were, so excited, especially our support group committee, who were mainly patients as well. They've had kidney transplants or were on dialysis. And so we came together to make this happen. And a lot of people showed up like, we've been waiting for this. We really wanted this. And then COVID happens. And we're like, okay, what do we do now? It ended up being a blessing in disguise, because we transitioned to virtually doing it. And so we've been hosting them virtually ever since. And it's really worked out, because we have people that tune in from all over. Last support group, we had someone from Lebanon come on, and we're like, okay.
Okay.
And she's like, I'm glad I found you all. She's a
Oh,
young girl and everything. And so we're going to keep it virtual for now, but we are thinking about having some things in person as well, because some people are more comfortable being in person than online. And so the support groups is one thing that we do. We also host kidney conversations for families. So say there's a family out there that's impacted by kidney disease, and like, we met a family, they live in North Carolina, and he contacted me. He said, I really don't feel comfortable talking about it. When you are dealing with that, sometimes there's shame, embarrassment, you feel like it's your fault. It's a lot that can come with it. And so I said, well, we'll host a kidney conversation. We'll get on Zoom. His family was kind of mainly in North Carolina, but he had people in different places. We got on Zoom, and my sister and I shared our story. We talked about kidney disease, kidney failure, what to expect with transplant, answered any questions they had about living donation. Many of them didn't really know, and that's another thing that we do as a community. We don't share our struggles. And sometimes I think that impacts us significantly from really moving forward. And so by us coming and hosting the kidney conversations for families, it alleviates that stress and that burden of having to share the information and get vulnerable. And sometimes it's just a lot. And so by us coming in, we are sharing, they can ask questions and just kind of paint a picture of what their loved one is going through. Like I said, many people don't really understand what kidney warriors are going through, or even their care partners. And so hosting the kidney conversations allows for us to come in and host the conversation. It's a small gathering. You can invite whoever you want, so people invite who they're comfortable with doing it. We haven't done it in person. Everyone's always been like, yeah, can you just come on Zoom and talk to my family? And
Okay.
I'm going to send out a link and we're going to get on Sunday at 5. And can you and your sister just share a part of your story? And so that's what we've done. We also do health fairs, a lot of health fairs in the community. So at churches, and we're invited to just come and set up a table and share information. And then our annual project that we've done over the last 6 years since we've been in existence is our holiday drive. And that's always my favorite time of year because I remember what it was like sitting in a dialysis chair during the holiday. And everybody's already in a very, very reflective space during the holiday time. Like you're missing loved ones that are no longer there. You're just thinking about life. You have more time to sit and think because you take off work in most cases and things like that. And so when we launched in 2018 in December, we decided that we were going to collect items to take back to my former facility. I was like,
Okay.
I want to go back and see my peeps,
Right.
my people, and I want to
Right.
encourage them that, regardless of whether you're going to get a transplant or not, you can still live a quality life, and there are people thinking about you. And so we did just that. We collected neck pillows and blankets and Sudoku puzzles, just anything you can think of. I think about when you're sitting in the chair, what are some things that warriors would want to do and that I wanted to do while I was on dialysis. So we packed bags and we took them and we sang Christmas carols at the dialysis unit.
Oh,
And so, and then we took little treats for my former techs and former nurses that worked with me during one of the most difficult times of my life. And that was my favorite Christmas gift that year. I was like, I like this. We ended up being on the news, on the local news channel. And so it started gaining momentum. I thought it was just going to be a one-time thing. I was like, yeah, let's go back and, share some love and to
well,
see.
let's share that news experience. What was that like?
Oh man, it was so good. So new, I think it was NBC4
Okay.
that came out the first time, and just showcase what we were doing. I was more happy of the fact that kidney disease was being spotlighted because many times dialysis warriors feel forgotten. They go to the dialysis centers 3, 4 times a week. They're sitting in the chair 4 or 5 hours and nobody really talks about it. Nobody thinks about dialysis warriors. You hear a lot about heart disease, you hear a lot about breast cancer, you
Right.
hear a lot about, just things like that, but not a lot about kidney disease and kidney failure and really understanding what they go through. And so shining a light, that was the most important part to me. Like, wow, we get to shine a light on this because it's something that we really need to be talking about. Same thing happened the following year, but by the following year, we started expanding to other facilities. So other facilities would reach out like, my patients need this, and we've been thinking about what to do. And
Right.
if you all can come and sing some Christmas carols and, just whatever you can do. And so each year it's kind of grown. We're on our 7th annual one. It's happening now. So thank
Congratulations.
you. So
Congrats.
so each year we've tried to focus on a different area. So one year we may have done nutrition. So we sent healthy meals. Last year we did winter accessories. So we sent hats, scarves, gloves, and socks. This year we're focusing on emergency preparedness.
Okay.
And so that's another thing. If you think about like Hurricane Helene and things that have happened, they still have a shortage of saline and different things that dialysis warriors need in North Carolina and South Carolina. And so, what we want to do this year is we're packing emergency preparedness bags, so little care bags that will have like a pill organizer, maybe a flashlight. So we're going to a first aid kit, just things that kidney warriors can kind of pick up quickly. We're also going to collect information from our local emergency management offices to put in there, just so they're aware and can prepare. Someone that has an illness or a disability, they have to prepare a little bit differently for a disaster than the average person would. Where an average person that maybe doesn't have any health issues or anything like that can just kind of pick up and go. Kidney warriors and other warriors that are dealing with different challenges, they have to think through, okay, I need to make sure I'm going to have medication planned out. And so we want to ensure that we highlight that and they know who to contact if an emergency arises. Of course, the dialysis center would be a point of contact for them. But beyond that, if you can't get anyone in that center, what are you going to do? And so we're highlighting that this year for our holiday drive, and would invite anyone that's watching to join us to donate. We're accepting donations via Zelle, Cash App, our website, any way that you want to donate. And there's also sponsorship packages. So that's
Okay.
been a huge help for us over the years is our sponsors. And so the other thing that it helps us do with our sponsorships is raise awareness in our local businesses and communities. Because what I found is that I would go to visit different businesses that were around these dialysis centers, and they had no idea of the statistics or even what it was, but here this business is right next to a dialysis center. And so when we connect with those businesses, I'm also going to them with facts. Like, here are the facts here in Maryland. Here are how many people are on kidney disease, are on dialysis and have kidney disease. Here are the number of transplants that's happened in our community. And so it's a good way for us it's a twofold win, because we're raising awareness, but we're also letting kidney warriors know during the holiday that you're not forgotten. And so our first drive, we started with approximately 90 patients. This year, we're hoping to serve 800. So we have
Ooh,
12 dialysis
expanded.
units. Yes, and we also service kids at Children's Hospital who are on
Okay.
dialysis, and so they're going to get the emergency bags too. But we're going to give them they get one toy off of their holiday wish list from Kindness for Kidneys.
So how can the community get more in connection with
Yes.
kindness for kidneys?
Yeah, so visit our website at www.kindnessforkidneys.org. You can find out more information about all of our initiatives and the Christmas drive on our website.
Okay. So I have one more question, right? I want to know more so about how was your sister dealing with the experience as well?
Mhm.
Because yeah, you can go ahead. I'm sorry. It's
No,
fine.
that's good. So she's doing well. My sister, just a little backstory on her. So we're 5 years apart. So she's 5 years younger than I am. We've always been close. I have it's four of us total. I have two other siblings besides my sister, Shantae. And so we've all always been close. And when I started having the kidney issues, she was like, what's going on? At the time, she lived in Richmond, so she wasn't close at the time. But she's like, what's going on? I mean, what do I need to do? You need a kidney? And she's a jokester of the family, so you kind of know her. She's like, you need a kidney, girl? I'll give you a kidney. But so we laughed about it, but I didn't realize that I wouldn't really need her
Right.
kidney after a while. And so it's interesting because 2 years before she donated to me, she tried to commit suicide. And when this happened, she felt like, I need to stay around for my sister. I need to live for my sister. And so that became her purpose and driving force for even staying on the earth. And so it really became a I like to share our stories, because many times I hear the living donor say, that person doesn't know what they did for my life. And the focus is always on the patient, that this person needs a kidney. But if you talk to most living donors, they'll tell you, like, no, I found purpose in this, or I gained a new sense of hope myself, and I found things within myself that I didn't even know about. And so for her, it was purpose. It was, I feel like my sister's been there for me. And she says it like, no, Sharron saved my life. And I'm like, girl, no, you saved mine, because we're looking at the physical act, but in her mind, no, you gave me a reason to live. You needed me, and I'm glad that I was able to step up and help. And so since then, she's doing fine.
Okay.
My nephew, he's 14, so she has a 14-year-old son, so she's doing her thing with him. And she comes and spreads awareness with us. She's at, if you look on our website, you'll see her at all the events and all of the different functions, and just helping to spread awareness, because that's another area of education, is living donation. And many people don't know that, okay, she gave me her kidney, her native kidney, her other kidney, because we're born with two kidneys. That grows to compensate for the other one that's not there. And so another thing that people don't know about living donation is, if you decide to donate your kidney, and God forbid you ever need one yourself, you automatically go to the top of the list.
Okay.
And so you get priority in your workup because you've been a donor. And so people don't realize that too. Like, no, I don't want. What if I need a kidney one day? Well, if we hope that you don't. In most cases, and I don't know the exact numbers of the research, but most living donors in their lifetime won't require one, because they're the most healthy to donate. And so hospitals will never never clear someone who's not healthy enough to donate a kidney. So most of the people that are donating kidneys, they're very healthy. So
Okay.
typically they don't end up in kidney failure because you have to go through a lot of tests to end up to show that you're a viable match anyway.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, I'm going to share a little testimony as far as me. I just want to say your story really connected and it touched me due to the fact that my father in law is also a dialysis patient and he goes 3 times throughout the week. So by me interviewing you tonight, it really touched home. So I have some resources now and I can help my mother-in-law go through sometimes she goes through people not showing up, and things like that, stuff going on in the dialysis, the surroundings.
Yes.
It's not surrounding sometimes. So it's just like it's real hard sometimes for her, right?
Yeah.
But now that I know it supports systems throughout the southern region,
Mhm.
I can go back and take this information to her
Yeah.
to let her know that you have support. You just have to reach out.
Right.
So I'm thankful that I am able to do this interview on tonight and connect with you
Absolutely.
on so many levels.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's so interesting because when I started, so initially I didn't want to put my story out there because I felt like I didn't want the pity. And I know as people, we're strong. We are
Right.
strong
Right.
people.
We are strong.
And so I didn't want to share. You could ask anybody. Like even when I went to get my transplant at work, they gave me like just a little cake, and we got together and we raised some money for you to take care of food or whatever cost. And some people were like, I didn't even know you were going through this. And that's the trick of kidney failure because a lot of people look okay. I mean, like I looked decent enough to function, and I was able to still work, but not many people can work. But you still look decent enough to function. You don't know unless sometimes you see the fistula on the arms of some people. But at that time, I had a catheter. I was doing it at home, and so you know, everybody that when I started sharing, I realized that most people would say, "Oh, I have a father or I have a mother." And I'm like, well, why are we not saying anything?
Right.
Why did I show up at
Right.
this dialysis unit and no one had ever
Right.
said anything? And I know a lot of times you don't share until you're impacted by it, but that was the thing for me to really drive me to start Kindness for Kidneys. And it's the fuel that keeps me going. Like, no, people are out here suffering
True.
alone,
True.
and God bless your mother and or mother-in-law, because they a lot of times the caregivers have it harder than
They
the
do.
patient, and they're not privy to the information and the education that they need to effectively support the person on dialysis.
I
And
agree.
so definitely let's connect. Anyone out there that's going through it, please reach out. You don't have to go through this alone. You don't have to navigate through this journey alone. There are resources out there, and what we can't find, we certainly connect with other
Okay.
organizations to ensure that people have what they need.
Well, I definitely want to say thank you for taking time out to do this interview on the night. Is it anything you would like our listener viewers to know about your organization?
Yeah, just we would love to connect. Whether you are impacted by kidney disease or you know someone, this is a community health issue that we really need to tackle. And I feel like we need to be in the driver's seat of that. If we're not in the driver's seat for our lives, who will be? And so please connect with us. Please, reach out. Let us know. Just know that we're here to support you. Connect with us for our holiday drive. We need as many volunteers as possible and would love to support you and your family in any way that we can. And I just want to thank you, April, for having me here. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy connecting with others, and so I hope that this is the first of many connections
It
that we'll
will
have.
be. I promise. I'll
Thank
stay
you.
connected.
Awesome.
Well, that sums our show up tonight, guys. This has really been an inspiration to me, and we're going to reach out. I want you to stay connected, and I also want you to follow this Scary Kindness for Kidneys. I want you to follow her, stay connected, and let's see how we can be a better support in the community. Good night.
Good night.